I think what is needed is to reframe problems into opportunities. So of course we're not able to create new spaces in the way that might be requested, but the power of entrepreneurship and the role of the universities in embracing students to become entrepreneur, to think entrepreneurial in a mature company, is to see opportunities, to reframe problems that occur, because we have, not just during the pandemic, we have different needs now. There are so much diversity right now when it comes to mobility, beyond cars, beyond bicycles, the scooters. There are now the bikes for logistics. So, and I think what has to be understood that public space is a mixture of different stakeholder requirements. It comes from the residential, but also economic building and the owners, what they need, what they are looking for, the curb and the street. And to understand that a solution needs to fit in this system. And from my perspective, the power of the universities and in entrepreneurial education is to foster students and early teams to see these problems as business opportunities and take action, and to address these opportunities in a much faster pace than mature companies. And they also have the opportunity to unfold creativity beyond what is already existing, because an existing company has its portfolio, an existing customer base, and startups, they have the possibility to start from scratch. But what is needed, and thanks Maria for putting this on the, bringing this in, it cannot be done alone. Startups need mature companies. They are aware of the policy requirements. They are in contact to many other stakeholders. And of course, it needs the public stakeholders in order to make it happen, because it's a public space and it should stay that way. It is just the question, how might we bring innovation solutions to this scarce resource in a creative, value-adding manner. And I think there are wonderful examples, for example, in Chicago with curbside picking up, right? Or understanding, is it really the street what needs to be used for bicycle parking? There is the example of Amsterdam, where under the railway there is a huge parking spot, not for cars, for bicycles. So we have to rethink our system in the city, and I think this is the biggest opportunity for all of us.
Thank you very much, Bettina. So how can we rethink our cities? This is a very good question, I think, to Kirsten. What is the city of Hamburg's approach in rethinking the city?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here in Munich, even though I'm in Hamburg. Thank you so much for the invitation. I am leading the Strategic Directorate for Mobility Transition in Hamburg. And yes, it's true. More and more mobility providers are taking up public roads, road space to market their vehicles, cars, e-scooter, rental bikes, cargo bikes, sharing vehicles, or on-demand services. And road design is getting more and more complex. Well, I love this diversity, but we also need space for pedestrians, especially children and older people, that they can participate in public life. Children need space for creativity and their development. And in an aging society, we need safe and comfortable space for older people with or without wheeled walkers in order to enable them to live an independent life. This is why there is an increasingly strong need for barrier-free design. When a sidewalk or a bike path is clogged up, the people living in the area are unhappy and the acceptance of new types of transportation and mobility service drops. Citizens are asking for solutions reducing cars, traffic and emissions. So green city programs require changes in the distribution of public space away from parking lots. We have to think about creative ways to use public space. And again, if you think mobility, do not only think car. Traffic is getting more and more diverse. This brings me to a next subject. There are many discussions about gender equality in traffic planning these days. I think that women are more aware of pedestrian space. Women walk more often than men, and many fulfill the traditional role of looking after the kids and aged relatives. Therefore, they are much more aware of the challenges pedestrians' infrastructure poses for road users. And this is why I'm really proud to be a part of the network Women in Mobility. But back to the main subject and your question. Yes, the city of Hamburg, the Hamburg city government is aware of these problems, and we are now starting to invest heavily in pedestrian traffic and developing local pedestrian strategies in the boroughs. Therefore, we need information how public space is used, for example, for deciding on long-term or temporary regulation and to follow up violations. We are mustering the help of players to improve public space in order to create a more livable city. This is why we are very, very interested in getting in touch with specialists here and, for example, on the ITS World Congress in Hamburg in the month of October 2021. This is the largest exhibition on intelligent transport systems and services in Europe. We are very pleased with the strong support we receive from commercial partners. More than 100 companies, research institutions and associations support Hamburg's aim. Hamburg will provide a great opportunity for further developments in digitalization within the transport sector. This is also why we are very happy to share this panel with Deutsche Bahn and to learn about your fascinating ideas. We have to get to connect, we have to network, and we have to keep in touch. It won't work in another way. So let us talk.
Thank you very much, Kirsten, and it's great that you already mentioned or made this bridge to the Hamburg conference, because some of the audience here will be interested to also participate in October, I think. I think all of us have a common understanding or a common ground that we need alternatives or we need to make car parking slots or create to use them in more diverse way and to make this happen. So what kind of best practices do you know, either from the cities you live in or from the cities you represent or from other cities, maybe also this is a question to Maria, where something works very well?
Well, so there's always the conflict of interest, of course. So if you reduce space for car, then those owning a car will have more difficulties finding a parking space. But on the other hand, so examples we see where actually cities have reduced space for car and have created new areas where people can live outside and play and do all the things that were mentioned. We found, so for instance in Barcelona, you might know the concept of super blocks, where there's areas of 400 by 400 meters within the city where they are pacified, so no cars, or at least you cannot actually go through the area, but you can go inside if you live within the area, but only at very limited speed. So this is really space for pedestrians and cyclists. And these are wonderful areas, so you go in there and you can breathe and you feel safe. And people, although in the beginning they opposed and pushed back against this because it was something out of the ordinary and they felt something was taken away from them. So this freedom of driving in with their cars, or this freedom of parking their cars, right outside of their building, that was taken away. But then they saw what they gained. And they gained a much more beautiful environment, neighborhood, where they enjoyed being. So then they actually accepted it over time, and so it helped also businesses actually to create more traffic. So people in these car-free environments, they like to stay there more. They like to go there, spend more time there, and then in the end also spend more money. So there are very good examples where it has benefited all stakeholders in the end. It's important to involve citizens when doing, and businesses also, so all the stakeholders, as Bettina mentioned, when introducing such changes. So to have them, voice their concerns, also contribute their ideas, and more importantly even tell them this is an experiment and let's see where it goes, and if it's successful we will scale it and make it permanent. If it's not successful, we will discard it and try something else.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Maria. So you mentioned that we have to bring in different perspectives and also include citizens in defining solutions, or the solution space even. What kind of formats do you know, Bettina, where this worked well, be it in the mobility segment or in other industries, this bringing together of different perspectives? How could that work in practice?
So on one hand, that the students understand that there are different perspectives, or the stakeholders in mature companies or in the public domain. I think the awareness that it's not just about car drivers is really, really important. It's the system. So, and having need finding, so there is an understanding that you have to understand the problem or the problem space first before you generate solutions. I think this understanding from the approach-wise and the methodology perspective is really, really important, and there are more education, not just in universities but also in schools, and of course a new generation is getting educated, and many companies are setting up programs to educate not just the development people and innovation managers, but also regular staff to bring their ideas to the company. The startup hubs, for example, in many automotive companies, but also in the supplier companies. So the awareness that you have to have a different stakeholder perspective and have to an understanding of their needs. I think this is most crucial. I know that there is a tendency to co-create, and I see the value of co-creation, especially when you when a startup is collaborating with a company, a mature company, or they are co-creating with the public hand. However, I see a limitation in co-creation to involve general citizens, because often they do not have the background knowledge what is required regarding policy, safety, security, and all the demands in the streets. But I would always include them, because they are a need carrier, and of course their needs, wishes, demands, requirements needs to be addressed. So co-creation, yes, depending on what needs to be achieved. Is it about understanding needs from citizens? I see sometimes limitations, but need finding in terms of observation and conversation, definitely, or ethnographic research, and of course co-creation between business partners. Mm-hmm. That would be my understanding, and there are plenty of formats. And I think the barriers, we really just have to do it and start with these experiments that has been mentioned.
Thank you. When it comes to co-creation and to integrate citizens, different kind of citizens, maybe users but also non-users of, let's say, new vehicles or shared vehicles, because even if people are non-users or citizens are non-users, they are concerned. How can you as a city motivate users and non-users to take part into whatever kind of interactive formats you have in order to give them a voice? Kirsten.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the declared aim is to identify practical solutions. So we attend to free room for pedestrians. And for example, in Altona, part of Hamburg, there we had a trial closing a road for traffic for a longer time. There was research done about the acceptance, and the feedback was quite positive. So we are really in a dialogue with the stakeholders, with the people who live in the area, and the feedback was quite positive. And that is why we want to introduce similar projects also on a longer term basis. And this is just one example what kind of pilot project we initiated with partners. But of course, there are many, many other projects, and at the end, we have to identify practical solutions and to have the courage to make them real in a dialogue with the people who are living in town.
Thank you. What I would be interested to explore a little more also in that group is which role can and which role should technology play when it comes to curbside management, because there is innovations like, for example, geofencing. Of course, you can use it. It works in a sense, but maybe I think it's not enough, the technology alone. And how can we make the technology and the stakeholders work together better? Any ideas on that?
Isabella, maybe, so I would like to follow up on what has been said by both Kirsten and also Bettina on involving citizens. So Bettina had some doubts with regards to the role of that citizens can play in co-creation. So I do think that with new technologies, actually, we can involve citizens much more than we could have in the past. So there are digital tools, 3D models, simulations, virtual reality, where you can really make people, immerse into, future designs and give their more of their ideas about how these could be shaped in a way to fulfill their needs. So come into a role of, maybe not creating the solution itself, but making their needs better understood and making those needs more tangible, so that then the real creators and those creating the technological solution will be able to create something that is really geared towards their needs. So for me, they are part of the co-creation process, but with a distinct role, of course. And similarly, of course, we have the living labs where so more and more living labs in cities where we really can test new solutions with citizens and get feedback from the citizens and improve the solutions. So this allows really a co-creative testing, let's say, and to address community challenges. And so in this way, I think new technologies help a lot to involve more stakeholders. And one way also how we can let citizens co-create is, for example, in public space. If we give them flexible furniture, so urban furniture, where we can see how they use it, so they can maybe assemble furniture in a way that they want to use it, then we can see what they actually need. So there are ways to really involve them. 3D printing of urban furniture. So there are examples of the Fab Labs where there is actually this co-creation between citizens and the Fab Labs on technical urbanism, so this urban furniture. So technology certainly has brought this to a new level.
Kirsten, please. Thank you, Maria. Would you like to add something?
I would like to add something. For us here in Hamburg, it is important and their technique is really helping. It's important not only to focus on people who are already take part in participation processes, but to involve also others as well. For example, children or elderly migrants. All the people, even if they have poor language skills, we want to involve more people, and technical solution can help. We are really interested in modern ways to keep up a dialogue and to get people interested in shaping their environment, and therefore we need good technical tools.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think the tool is the enabler, and this is very important of what both of you said. The tools are the enablers, but still we need people to make them work and to apply them to the specific needs of the local situation.
Exactly.
And I think this is a great, I mean, the co-creation is, I think, a great keyword to start a co-creation and participation process now here, because time is running. And as we said, we would like to integrate also the audience to take part of this discussion on curbside management. And so we have roughly 10 minutes left of this panel, and I would like to kindly invite you, what questions do you have to our panelists? What ideas would you have to add, comments? Please contribute, participate, feel free, now it's your turn. Yes, please, a question behind there. Could we have a microphone over there? Would you say your name and what's your background, please?
Yeah. Hello, first of all, thanks for the interesting discussion and the insights. Okay. My name is Thorsten Bergmann, I'm working also for Deutsche Bahn Connect. But I would be interested, Bettina, as your professor and your role, what you already mentioned that the students develop an understanding of different perspectives. But what are the competences they need to shape the future mobility change and concepts we need?
So this has been already mentioned by Kirsten, that they understand what is going on right now in reality. And this includes ways and an openness to observe, to get out, talk to people, and figuring out what is actually the reality, what is underneath, what are the drivers of their needs, the motivation, but also the goal they would like to achieve. So the kind of also jobs to be done, the emotional, the social, but of course also the functional. And then the creativity to generate solutions that are better than what we have right now. So value adding and differentiating. So everything that is involved with creativity, but also making it happen. What Maria said, building experiments. And here again, collecting data. Does my solution capture these values? Are we really changing something for a better? So this is, has something to do with methodology knowledge, but also the mindset, what we call entrepreneurial thinking and doing. That they understand what needs to be done and generating these kind of, yes, let's do it, and I'm doing it. So it has also something to do, what has been mentioned, with braveness and taking action, that stakeholders need to take action. If they are a startup, if they are in a mature company, or someone working in a public hand, so that we are all a part of it, and have to play a role in this kind of ecosystem. That would be the most important skills. There's even a framework for entrepreneurial skills and competences. This is a little bit more diverse, but I think the best is understanding the method, getting an experience in doing it, but having a mindset, taking action, and observing, does it provide value? And can I make it happen to implement it?
So basically the combination of skills and attitude.
Definitely.
And make things done.
So I think that the attitude is first and is the most important, because the skills can be developed over time. And this is why teaming up is so important, and the skill set to collaborate, because we cannot solve everything by ourselves.
Thank you. So there would be time for another question or comment from the audience. Skills and attitude, both are important. What's your attitude on curbside management? Yes, please. The sir over there, could he get a microphone?
Hello, my name's Christopher, I work at Sony. It's a question, it's not a comment. How far do you think regulation is going to play a role in curbside management? We talk a lot about cars and automated cars, and, you know, I see a lot of mixed modalities in Brussels where I work and live. But are e-scooters going to be regulated, for example? Should they be? Thanks.
Thank you very much. So who would like to take this question? What is the role of regulation in this curbside management universe?
Well, so probably it's Kirsten who has the most to say about it. Just from my perspective, because we are working in a network, so I think that the cities need to be the orchestrators. So there are so many modes, and it will not work if there is not a very strong policy position. Of course, always working in dialogue with the different stakeholders, but there has to be a system which is, given, and a framework which is given by the municipalities. But Kirsten, you are the expert on this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. A city that is alive keeps evolving, and we want our city in a way that our citizens enjoy living here. And therefore, of course, we need to create rules and control the offers by authorizing stops at station. And at the same time, mobility providers can roll out and operate their services fast. But to be honest, we also need backup from national laws. But the regulation is, of course, one important pillar of the whole story. Because at the end, people should enjoy their city, and they don't want to trap over e-scooters.
Thank you very much to the two of you. I personally think that very often innovation is there faster than the regulation that has to be created around. And I think it will be interesting to see over the next years what kind of solutions or what kind of problems we have really to solve by regulations, or what can also be solved through a, let's say, self-regulating process, for example, by orchestration or by coordination and cooperation among providers. This is at least what I hope for, that some of the problems we can solve from within, I would say. But of course, in some cases, regulation is important as well. So now, thank you very much for your audience participation. We are coming to the final minutes of our interesting discussion, and I think some of us could continue for longer. But the stage is limited as well, not only the space. So I would kindly invite the three of you for your final statements. So famous last words to make curbside management happen. So what should we go out and do right now? What could we do right now in order to manage the curbside better before regulation is coming? Who would like to start?
I can start. So I think what is needed is to reframe problems into opportunities, to take action, to be brave, and to reach out to start changing and generating impact. And we need these kind of experimental setup, the living labs, as Maria said, where we can really build something and see and measure is there value and impact, and then we can roll it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I continue, and I would just repeat some of the things that have been said. So firstly, I think we need to consider the curb as a precious space in the city, and a space that is there not only for the cars, but for people and for different users, and really consider all of the different needs of stakeholders in the city. And secondly, I think, so what I just said, so I think the cities and municipalities have to take a strong role and a strong orchestration role, incentivize sustainable use of the curbside and regulate the unsustainable usage and mobility behaviors, and incentivize participation of citizens and businesses in shaping their neighborhoods, in really taking an active role. We haven't talked about businesses actually, but I think now with the terraces that have been built and the flowers and green spaces that actually benefited not only those going to the restaurants but everyone in the neighborhoods, showed that we can use the businesses in the neighborhoods to create more livable spaces there. So, but this has to be incentivized, and there has to be justice in space allocation.
And now, final last words. Please, Kirsten.
Okay, well, management is about enabling, and we want to enable people to live happy and independent lives. And I'm really curious how the city will develop. And I'm sure there will be opportunities for us to meet again and to discuss. And I want to make one point: without networking and without working together with the companies, with commercial partners, we won't develop as fast as we have to. So in order to reach for the stars, we have to cooperate with partners and to network and to talk to our citizens.
Thank you very much.